get on with it. Yeah, what questions you guys have? What did you want to cover today?
So for me, I wanted to go more into discovery and probing. It seems
Mhm.
like when I was rewatching my call, I was staying more surface level. I wasn't going deep enough into the problem, and it's not really clicking. So I wanted to get a little more help on that.
Sweet. Yeah, we can definitely talk about that. When you like, what do you think you're struggling with when it comes to probing deeper?
I think it's picking out like the right stuff, like the one thing at that time where I need to go ahead and ask to get like a better
Mm, okay. So knowing what to ask about.
right, like based off what like the prospect says, like what one thing to pick out and go ahead and
Mhm.
run with that.
And are you saying that you're struggling with this because of the one role play you had?
Yeah, I only had one, so it was the first one. So I mean, it's
For sure.
you know, I just want to make
Yeah,
I
you'll
just want
get better over time.
yeah, I just want to
Do
learn as much.
you do you have a recording we can watch, or do you wanna
But
do that another time?
I do, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, if you drop the recording, that way we can get super practical with what actually happened rather than a bunch of theory talk, if that's good with you.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, here, let me go ahead and get it real quick.
Sweet. While he's grabbing that, do we have any other questions?
Yeah, man. Hey, finally, I made it on time. This is great. I just really want to start. I've actually been in the last sort of 2 hours. I've had two interviews come through, which is wicked. But my main prep today was I just want to make sure that my profile is optimized and just talk through that because at the moment I'm just kind of shooting in the dark. I've done a video, I've tried to do the one take wonder. I popped it up but it seems to be working. I say I've got two interviews come through, but I'm also doing like the extra legwork that you kind of said. Like I've emailed those companies directly and I said, hey, I'm interested. I've done that stuff. But I just want to have a look at my profile and see what you think I need to develop on and just see, yeah, that's where I'm at basically.
Sweet. Yeah, drop the share link and we'll go through that. Let me pull up this page here. All right, let's take a look here. I'm gonna share screen. Go ahead and let me know when you guys can see it. All right, sweet. All right, so taking a look at the profile, headshot looks good. Nice professional photo, solid. A lot of times people treat their profile image like it's Instagram, so I'm glad you didn't. Scrolling through, we got the sales history filled out, headline put there. We'll look at the intro video last. UK based sales rep for his sales experience. Okay, solid summary. The portfolio is something obviously you've got to get filled out. I know you've heard me talk about that, getting role plays, getting different examples, cutting it up, splitting it up into sections like discovery examples, pitching examples, handling objections, that kind of stuff. Every time you role play with someone, if they are on RepSelect, they don't actually have to be subscribed, but if they just have an account on RepSelect, I would do like an endorsement swap. So endorsements is kind of just like on LinkedIn, how you can kind of endorse them for something like closing ability, appointment setting, whatever. I would endorse each other just because reviews usually help people say, okay, there's people vouching for this person, therefore let's give them an interview. It's going to help your profile stand out for sure. So if you are getting on role playing with people, I would have them endorse you and you can endorse them for what you guys actually worked on. Make sure it's a meaningful one. I've had people like ChatGPT it, and it's obvious that it's ChatGPT. So it doesn't need to be super professional or corporate speak either. It can literally be as simple as, "Hey, I did a role play with Ibrahim. He was absolutely crushing it when it came to the spouse objection. I think you do great on an offer as a closer." Like super simple. You know what I mean? But just having like, imagine you had like 10 people vouching for you, even though they're not business owners will see that and be like, okay, well, maybe there's something here if there's so many people vouching for this person. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of
Cool.
sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
employment history. did a live event, sales manager for the business running events. So one thing all of you guys want to do with your employment history is make the description of it very achievement based, right? There's nothing wrong with saying sales manager for the events, but most people understand what the role was or like the things you did for the role based on um, your job title. Like if you say you're the sales manager, you don't have to then go and put like manage the team, conducted meetings, like you know what I mean? Not that you did that, but you don't have to go and explain everything that that role entails. You can just add the achievements because that's what really matters. What did you achieve at the role? Under your sales management, were there any record months for the company? Did
Okay.
the
Yeah,
com
I'm with
when
you.
you joined the company, was the company doing, I don't know, 1,000,000 a month, and when you left, they're doing 4,000,000 a month? Like, what are the achievements that you actually achieved there as the manager, for that team? And same thing if you're a setter, you're a closer. What was your close rate there? What was your show rate there? What was your, did you close an exorbitant amount of referrals? Were you a champion when it came to follow-up? Just whatever stats or achievements you can put is actually going to make this worth reading. You know what I mean? Rather than typical resumes where everyone's like, well, I did this at the role. Well, if you're an appointment setter, you don't need to tell me you set appointments. You know what I mean? Um, cool. Education. You can also put like courses, programs, stuff like that you've been through in the education piece. Some business owners, they really love different trainers' ideologies, like, the Cole Gordons, I'm blanking, my mind's blanking right now, but sales trainers that maybe have a much bigger name. I've even had some people say, "Oh, I've seen Ty's ads or whatever. I've watched a couple of his videos." So just putting the names of different trainers that you've worked under or just like learned anything from, joined programs of whatever. If the business owner likes their sales ideology, that might help you get more interviews or land more roles. Other than that, solid so far. Let's take a look at this intro
Okay,
video.
here we go. Here we
Hi,
go.
my name's Ibrahim. Please do forgive if you hear a train in the background. I live next to a train station. I'm a sales rep here in the UK, and I have over 4 years of experience in high ticket offers, appointment setting, and cold calling. In the last year, I've collected about £300,000 in the live event space and membership space. And I'm looking to diversify and pivot into the fitness, personal development, and business coaching spaces. This is because they resonate highly with me. I am all about looking after myself, looking after my mind, looking after my body. And I do believe that if a customer can truly hear an honest voice on the other end of that phone when they're about to make a big life-changing decision, they're more likely to do so. So if you believe that my energy, my drive is right for your business, let's jump on a call. I'm constantly developing myself as a rep. I'm enrolled in online courses and I'm constantly learning. So give me the opportunity to show you what I've got. Give me the opportunity to connect with me, and let's see what we can do. Let's make some magic this year. Thank you.
I'd say it's a solid video. You clearly took the advice that we spoke about. Overall, it's a solid video. If I were to get super nitpicky, I would say um, the background noise is a little bit loud. So if you just, and that's as simple as if any video editor just cutting out the background noise, that way they can just hear your voice. There's not a lot of the sound of
Yeah.
cars and stuff in the background. Get a lineup, that kind of stuff. Simple, and it would look
Sweet.
good.
So
Awesome.
I didn't get a haircut. The same man
Yeah.
get trimmed.
Yeah, get a haircut. Get a
Brother, it's
haircut,
January.
clean cut,
Brother, it's
professional.
January.
We're talking about interviews here, though. You know what I mean? Looks
I
make
hear
a
it, I hear it.
huge difference,
I hear
and lineup save lives. So, yeah,
Yeah, man.
grab a
I hear it.
trim,
Thank you.
and this will be solid.
Sweet.
Cool. Overall, good profile, man. Solid profile. Let's
Cool.
take a look at your role play, Canyon. Sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
You want to break down what type of offer were you role playing? Was it like a fitness, a sales, a marketing? Like what kind of offer were you
Right.
actually
I was just doing a
going for
fitness
here?
offer. Yeah, I was just doing a fitness offer because that's kind of the space I'm familiar with.
Sweet. In this one, I'm going to ask for you guys' participation. The biggest thing that Kenyon's looking at here is when asking questions. I'm just seeing a message in the chat. Welcome, Ollie. welcome to your first call. But when asking questions, how do you know what to pick out to probe deeper on? That's what we're going to go over in this. And there's going to be times where I stop it a lot, Kenyon, and I'm going to ask if, because sometimes when you listen back to it, you start to realize, oh my gosh, I should have asked about this. I should have went into there. So I'm gonna give moments for you guys to kind of chip in on what you would ask next. Sound good?
That sounds good. I guarantee that's gonna happen. I'll be like, oh, I should have said this.
Yeah, because like when you're in the moment, you're so focused on what you want to say next, you're not really fully present on what the prospect is saying, right? So let's take a listen and see what we can see.
Good, Canyon, can you hear me?
This
Good.
meeting
Yes, I
is
can
being
hear you.
recorded.
Yes, I can. Yep.
So,
My
no
part
problems.
starts.
Is there,
at
have we got
minute
3 people in the call?
3
You said
mark.
18 minutes is when your part starts?
Right. Yeah, I let him go first, and then I went.
All right, let's jump around.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Sweet. Hey, Luis, welcome. Today, if it's all good with you, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you a few questions, and this is gonna help figure out what.
It's a closing call, right?
Yes, closing call.
Yeah.
You're really looking for, and see if possibly it might have a good fit for you. And then if not, I'll help you go in the right direction. I don't want you being in any type of a commitment where you wouldn't be good for you. So I just want to make sure to get that all clear. Is that good with you?
Yes, that's good with me.
Awesome, Lise. Perfect. So what brings you in here today?
Yeah, basically I'm getting fat and old, and I need a bit of help getting back to the body I used to have. You know, I'm struggling to lose weight, but I'm lifting weight, and I'm struggling with my diet.
Oh man. Oh man, it must be tough going ahead, kind of the diet kind of falls back and then just kind of go ahead getting older and fatter a little.
Yeah,
Understood.
100%. Like, I mean, you know, I cut back 10 years ago, well, not even 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Like my weight did yo-yo, but it was just so easy to get back into shape if I fell off the bandwagon a bit. And now, like, yeah, things are getting a little bit tougher, and I'm not too sure what adjustments to make to get that weight off and get that body back.
Oh, the things are getting a little.
So what would you guys ask? You guys heard him say, struggling to lose weight, struggling with my diet, was easy before, but things are getting tougher. What would you guys ask?
What programs have you been on before? What have you been working on? How are you training? I'd ask some training questions. Like, what are you doing?
Okay. Anything else?
If I took it back, I would have asked him more like, oh, I forgot the part that I was gonna say. I had it in my head, but I forgot the part. It was gonna be something like real simple, like, could you just tell me more about like
It looks
I
like that's what you say. I'm looking here. It says things are getting a bit tougher. Tell me more about that. What does that look like? I think that's a good question, right? Just because I paused it doesn't mean your next question was bad, by the way. But I
oh,
do
okay.
think that question there was a good question. And the reason why I can see Mendim said, what have you tried before? And Ibrahim, you said that you would go right into like, what is he doing for training? The only reason why I wouldn't ask that question yet is because you don't want to move on to a different type of question until you've gotten the first one fully answered, right? So when someone says they're struggling to lose weight, struggling with my diet, was easy before, but things are tougher, what does that mean? If we don't know, if there's areas for us to still assume, we don't want to move on until we clarify it. Does that make sense? So let's see what he says, and then we'll go from there.
A little bit tougher. Tell me a little more about that. What does that look like?
So basically it's a combination of things like lifestyle, like so I'm in so during the day I do a lot of heavy manual labor stuff. Then I get home and I try and work out, and like I just don't have the energy. And because I'm working in a heavy job all day, like I eat a fuck ton. So you know, because I need that energy. And it's hard to figure out like what my diet's supposed to look like, still have the energy to work, and then still have the energy to live but not overeat. So yeah.
So about your energy, how do you feel like your energy varies?
So there's a few components. Like I don't really get that much sleep. Um, and then when I get to work, like I feel it's pretty easy for me to just like switch on and start moving, and start work. By the end of the day, which is like I work a 9 hour day, I'm pretty much cooked. By the time I get home, like I don't have the mental strength to work out, but I do anyway. And then my workouts are just like they just take forever, and then I don't have the time to like, and then I pretty much don't have the time or the energy to do anything else other than run that routine all the time. I don't focus on diet. I don't focus on family life, anything. It's just those two things are just taking up all my time, and yeah, yeah, it's kind of a
Yeah.
circle. It sucks.
So he's given us a lot now, right? He's given us a lot of different stuff. So this is where it can get difficult. This is where it can get a little confusing. So what would you guys do at this point in the call? He mentioned was easy before, but things tougher, or he went past that. Then he said, don't have a lot of energy because of work. Hard to figure out what my diet should look like. Don't get much sleep. Workouts just take forever. Don't focus on diet or family life because of it. Now what?
What I did with the call, I kind of went into more like the work day and stuff. But if I went back, I would have went focused more on the energy, because if the energy wrapped around all that, the work day and stuff, that I would have paid more attention to that, which I do later in the call. But
Hmm. What you want to probe into, actually, before, is there anything else, Ibrahim? You said try to make it about him and what he wants. What do you mean?
Yeah, I just wonder, and I'm new to this, so
Mhm.
especially the fitness space. I just wonder how we can pick up his morale and just be like a more of a like a listening ear. Like I just feel like he's getting very like, my life is this. And it's like, yeah, but what do you want? And I want to see if we can bring a little bit of sunshine to his day and be like, so what is it you want to create? What do you want for yourself? And then we can from there start springboarding into how well, my offer or whatever we're gonna talk about today can help you get into that space rather than being in this space when you start the call.
We definitely would get there, but first we want full clarity on the problem. And what I'll say is when someone's listing a bunch of problems like this, what you want to focus on is what are his problems as it relates to how we help. It's the most important thing to focus on and to probe into. So if you're selling a fitness offer, what aspects of his problems does your fitness offer specifically solve? So, for example, does your fitness offer do diet plans? Does your fitness offer do sleep optimization? Does your fitness offer do training plans? I mean, most of them will probably do at least the training plan and the diet plan, but if they don't necessarily do a whole bunch on sleep, maybe you don't probe into that a crazy amount and spend a lot of time there, because now you're spending a lot of time fleshing out a problem that you're not even going to help them solve. You know what I mean? And most of the time, that problem will be solved as a byproduct of the others, right? So, what I want to think is, okay, what are you struggling with as it relates to the way in which I help? Does that make sense? That's where
that
you
makes
want to.
sense, because then from there you can. It's like you're controlling the conversation. You're leading it into a point where they're like, oh snap, I can't get my diet right. And it's like, well, because that's what my program does. And you're not going to say it like that on the call, but that's the idea.
Yeah, and you're slowly trying to utilize what problems they have to kind of build out how you're going to present the offer. And we'll get into this stuff a little bit later, Kenyon, when you've already surpassed the initial discovery. But for example, he says his workouts just take forever. I would want to know, how long do those workouts actually take? What does forever mean? How much time is he spending there? How does that feel when having to do that every day? And then when I get to the pitch, that lets me know that, hey, if this guy's already doing a bunch of physical labor, he could probably lose weight just getting his diet in check. So what I could do is pitch him, maybe if he's doing hour-long workouts, I could pitch him like 30-minute targeted workouts, right? And I could say that's something we can help him formulate. If he doesn't focus on his diet at all, we know that the diet is going to be a part that we help him with. But in order for me to understand how I'm going to pitch diet to him, I need to understand why he struggles to figure out his diet, right? I mean, he says he does hard labor and he's just drained. But if I just say, hey, we're going to come up with a diet plan for you, that might not be specific enough, because what parts of it is causing him to not want to do it? Is it the having to cook meals? Is it having to think of what to eat? Like what does that actually mean when you say it's hard to figure out the diet? Yes, he's listing a lot of problems, but if you have to realize that all of these problems are just vague things that have an infinite amount of meaning, right? Like if I say, "Hey, I'm struggling with my diet," what does that mean? That can mean so many things, you know? So what you never want to do is move on assuming that you know what they're actually saying, because you don't. And then what happens when closers do that is when they get to the end of the call, they pitch to a vague problem. And then the program or whatever they're pitching doesn't feel like it's exactly what they need to solve their problems. Therefore, why would they spend exorbitant amounts of money to solve this vague thing? You know what I mean? So what you
Mhm.
want to do is you want to probe into that to have full clarity on what he's actually talking about. So for example, what sounds like a better offer? On one hand, he just says, my workouts take forever. And I just pitch, hey, we'll pitch you shorter workouts versus, hey, my workouts take forever. What does forever look? Well, I do full body workouts. They're 2 hours every day. I do this, and this. And then instead of just saying, I'll pitch you shorter workouts, I'll say, hey, instead of spending 2 hours a day, what if we give you a workout that gets you the same results, same muscle gain, same fat loss, but in 30-minute chunks daily, so you can save an hour and a half every single day? What sounds like a better pitch? You know what I mean? What's more targeted? What's more specific, right? What sounds like it's more for them? And that's just one aspect of the pitch that you'll be utilizing. So when you're saying, I don't know what to probe into, the easiest thing to focus on is, what do they need help with as it relates to what we actually serve them in, what areas we actually serve them in. Does that make sense?
Right, so that makes sense. So let's say like the program, it had like what I'm selling has like the training and the diet, and you discuss both training and the diet. Do I take the note of one and focus on one?
No, you have to probe into one to its conclusion until there's no areas left to assume, and then you can move on to the next thing. There's nothing wrong with spending like 30 minutes just digging into what the problems are. There's nothing wrong with that, right? There's no rush here, you know? You could do a very thorough discovery and be like, okay, so he said diet, he said workouts taking forever, he said, you know, don't get much sleep. I would pick, like, I would still talk about the sleep a little bit,
Right.
and I would also have him flesh out the family life as the consequences. When I get an understanding what the problem is, then I can flip to the effects of those problems and be like, "Hey, you mentioned that you're not getting sleep. You mentioned that there's issues with the family life. What's going on there?" You know, we can talk about that after, but what I'm really gonna get to the bottom of is, what does he mean by the workouts take forever? How long has that been going on for? You know, again, just questions as it relates to that problem so that there's no areas left to assume there. And then same thing with the diet. Those are the two things I'm going to really probe into, get a full understanding of, and then move on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. We're going to watch a little bit more. And then I think someone dropped a Loom video that will pull up as well.
Right. Oh man, it seems like kind of with your heavy work day, a 9-hour work day, that must be taking a toll on you, isn't it?
It's taking a toll on me. Yeah, it's not. I mean, I've got other goals that I want to fulfill, and not having the strength, not having the mental energy is making me anxious. Like I can just see things sort of slipping away.
Right. And then with your energy, you're saying like things are kind of slipping away, the wife and the family's going on the back burner. How's this dynamic affecting your family?
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't really have kids, but like when it comes to my wife, I'm not getting that much action.
Now we've moved on to the effects, but it doesn't seem like a problem now. But then when we get to the pitch, it's going to really affect how we formulate the pitch and how closely it speaks directly to his problem. Because you see, right now we're moving on, and the only information we have is his workouts take forever, and he doesn't focus on his diet or family. We're going to know that he's probably going to pour out in some depth of how that affects him. It's affecting his family. It's affecting this and that, and we'll know that there's big effects here. But now, when we go to pitch the solution, your pitch is 100% going to be vague because you don't have the details of what we're actually solving. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean. Because I didn't get any info on the diet or the training aside from he works long days. So when I do my pitch, I don't know exactly what he needs for that part. Yeah, it's good that I can find all the effects and stuff, but it's not gonna be able to do anything if I can't get him a solution.
Yeah, because the effects are great, but you're also talking about the effects of an unknown problem, right? And this is how trust is built as well, because when they know that you know the depths of the problem, they trust your solution that much more, right? Um, Ibrahim, did you have your hand up for a second? I think you had a
Yeah,
question.
man. I keep making mad facial expressions because this is sick. This is so good. This is so useful. What I was going to say is there something to build on just about talking about when you're doing that probing? If you don't have a number, then it's not like getting that hardcore data, like you said, it takes forever. How long does it take getting a number, and then you know that you've locked that in, so you're collecting data on the person. So you know, not in a mechanical way, but it's like that depth. Does that help as a cue?
Yeah, so the cue that I use whenever I'm probing, going through the problem, and I have videos on this explaining it in a little bit more detail, but I'll do a quick run through right now. When I'm thinking about the problem, there's a few steps you want to take. The first question you're going to have is some kind of question that gets them to state the overarching problem. So some people like to say, "What brought you to the call today?" Some people like to say, "Hey, what are you struggling with as it relates to your fitness or as it relates to XYZ thing we help with?" Whatever that first question is after you kind of frame the call, they're going to state a surface level problem. Some people might give you a little bit more depth, but most people are going to, like he said, I feel fat and old, or I am struggling with lead flow or whatever. Now you're going to ask clarifying questions to get to the bottom of that problem. That's step one. And the way you know that you've gotten to the bottom of it is there's no areas left to assume when you're thinking about the problem. So, for example, he said workouts take forever. Is there any area that I could assume something? Well, yeah. How long could they take? That's an area of assumption. If I have an area of assumption, I don't know enough, so I have to ask, right? So you're going to continue to ask clarifying questions until there's nothing left to assume about the problem. Then, once we know the what behind the problem, we want to move into the next step of probing, which is more so pressing on pain and then understanding the duration slash frequency of the problem. So if I know what he means by it takes forever, meaning maybe he told me that he does XYZ specific workouts and it takes him an hour. How long has this been going on for? And some, depending on the nature of the problem, I might say, how frequently does this show up? But this one's more of like, how long have you been doing this for? Quite type of problem, right? So now I know what the problem is. I know how long the problem's been going on for. Now I can move into the effects and or consequences of that problem, kind of like what he was talking about when it came to his family life, his sleep, and those kinds of things. And when you do it in that order, the effects, they pour out a lot more, and you get a lot deeper of an answer, because now you're not just asking about the effects of the surface level workouts taking forever. You're asking them, how is that, doing how has doing hour long workouts that you don't feel fully, like you don't feel are fully effective, been for the last 6 years? Like, you know what I mean? You're asking them a question that's very specific to the problem that they said. How is that making you feel that you haven't been able to focus on your diet because of XYZ problems, and this has been going on for the last 6 years? Like, that's a long time. How has that affected you? That's got to be taking a toll on you in some way, right? Now their response to that effect question is a lot more fleshed out. It's a lot deeper because it's not a surface level question. You're asking them a very, very, very specific question. Does that make sense so far? And now and if you just keep it in your mind, it's like, okay, what is the problem? Duration slash frequency. How long has this problem been going on for? Or how frequent does this problem show up? Now, okay, what is the effect of that combination of the problem plus its duration? So how is that problem going on for XYZ amount of time affecting you? Now that, how does that affect you is you want to stay away from kind of, I guess, cliche questions that trigger a lot of sales resistance. You can kind of ask it in different ways. You can come up with your own wording for that, but it's some kind of consequence or effect question. You don't have to say, how does that make you feel? If I'm talking B2B, I might say, like, what implications does this had on the business's revenue? I might say, hey, XYZ happening for 6 years, like that's got to be taking a toll on you. And they say, yeah, it has. And I say, in what way? That's another way of just saying, how's that affected you? Come up with creative ways to say it. You don't have to sound like every sales rep and say, so how does that make you feel? How does that affect you? Right. But once you get that, now, like you said before, Ibrahim, we can kind of brighten the mood a bit and we could say, now we have this full, deep understanding of what is going on. Now I can say, so what do you want to see happen? What's the actual goal here? And we can segue into that, again, having a full understanding of the problem. And it's so important because there's two aspects to this. There's the trust aspect, and then there's the time under tension that actually motivates people to take action. That's what creates urgency, right? Urgency is created through a buildup of tension. Tension is created through spending time pondering on something, right? The longer you think about how hungry you are, the more urgent you become about getting some food. That's just how our bodies work, right? The longer you think about something, the more it's on your mind, the more urgent you are to do something about it. It's why vacation commercials, everything's usually in slow motion. You see the drop of water down the glass margarita, whatever. Everything's in slow motion because they want you to spend time thinking about it, right? So if you spend 20, 30 minutes asking questions and fully understanding what the problem is, they're talking about it for so long, that time under tension makes them be like, man, I really got to do something about this. Right? You're bringing to the forefront of their memory, of their mind, that this is something important. This is something you have to deal with. Does that make sense? It's like everyone here has probably watched a sad movie that either made them cry or made them feel sad. But it wasn't like the description of the movie that made you cry. It was the time spending in that sad scenario of the music and the effects and the situation happening. It was probably a build up to the point of, okay, now I'm sad, right? It's the same thing on a sales call. The longer someone talks about, have you guys ever explained a story about something that made you angry, but you're talking to someone else, the scenario is done, but now you're actually getting mad in that moment while explaining the thing that made you mad? Why? Because you're talking about it. It's the forefront of your mind. You're thinking about it, and just thinking about it gets you heated again. You know what I mean? It's the same thing on a sales call. When I'm saying, so how did that affect you? So how long has that happened for? When's the last time this happened? When I'm asking all these questions, they're thinking about it. They're thinking about it. They're thinking about it. They're like, man, I really got to do something about this now. Like, that's how urgency is created. And that's the first piece. And the second piece is the trust piece, is when I know that you know everything and you've taken the time to do your due diligence on what the actual thing I'm facing is. I can trust your solution. And I say this illustration all the time. Imagine you walk into a doctor's office and you say, hey, doc, my knee hurts. And the doctor immediately says, your knee hurts? Cool, Ibrahim, here's a pill. Take it. Right? Versus the second doctor where you say, hey, my doctor, my knee hurts. And he says, okay, let's do some tests. How long has it been hurting for? What's the pain on a scale of 1 to 10? Hits the knee with that little metal hammer thing. Hey, pinches and says, do you feel this? Puts you under an x-ray. And then he says, hey, take this pill. Which doctor's pill are you going to trust? Probably the one who did their due diligence and actually probed and diagnosed what was going on before they gave a solution. And that's why I think what's really important for salespeople is the energy they have on the call for the whole beginning of the call should never be like an energy of, hey, I've got the solution for you. I know what you need. I got this. It should always just be like, discuss, like, why are you here? Help me understand you. What's going on? Just asking questions. There's confidence in what you do and what you have, but you're not pushing that confidence in a way that's, I know that you need this, until you've sold yourself on the fact that they should do this. Right? So everything, your tonality, your energy, everything is from the standpoint of curiosity. until you have a full understanding. Then you can crank up the conviction and be like, hey, you know what? I think this really makes sense for you. And that's when that conviction is believable, because I'm sure all of us here has had someone try to offer us something without even trying to figure out if it's what we need yet. And we're just like, get out of here. You know, you can't believe that person. Does that make sense? I know that was a bit of a long-winded kind of way to break down the formula, but that's, again, I have videos in the classroom on this. But that's the overall formula of like probing into the problem. It's what's the problem? What's the duration slash frequency? What's the consequences or, you know, effects of that combination? Now we can move on to what the goals are and what we actually want to see happen. Does that answer your question, Ibrahim? Solid. I know we had a loom here by Malik. Let's take a look at that, and then we'll answer any other questions that you guys have. Let me just share screen real quick. Here we go. You guys can see that? Okay.
Hi, my name is Malik, and I have over 2.5 years of experience in high performance sales environments, including door-to-door and B2B sales. So across that time, I've been responsible for prospecting, running discovery, handling objections, and closing deals, contributing to over 800,000 in total revenue. So I'm comfortable with consultative sales, conversations, longer sales cycles, and working with prospects who need clarity and confidence before committing. So I focus on asking the right questions, controlling the frame of the call, and leading prospects to clear outcome rather than pushing transactional closes. So I was recognized internationally for my performance, receiving a sales award in Paris, which reflected consistency, resilience, and execution in a competitive environment. So that experience reinforced my standards around preparation and accountability. In terms of how I operate, I'm disciplined, self-directed, and reliable. I take ownership of results, and I adapt quickly to feedback and maintain consistency under pressure. So I value structure, transparency, and being part of a team that take growth seriously. So long term, I'm looking to align with a company where I can contribute meaningful revenue, continue refining my craft, and also grow the business. Thank you so much for watching. Look forward to connecting.
So my feedback on this one is there's nothing wrong with anything you said. I just want to rearrange the order a little bit. So I noticed that at 20 seconds, you spoke about the revenue generated, and at 50 seconds, you spoke about the achievement of winning a sales award. The problem with those times is most business owners and recruiters that I've worked with watch the first like 15 seconds, 20 at most. They usually click. They're like, okay, is he a good communicator? And then they sometimes watch longer if something sparked their interest, but usually click off and have made their decision within like 10 seconds. So it's just like anything, YouTube videos, reels, whatever. What's your hook? Well, the hook is going to be your sound, your look, but then also if you do have any of those achievements and track record, that's also going to be your hook. So the only thing I would really change in this is I would kick it off. Hi, my name is Malik. Over 2.5
Hi, my
years,
name
would you
is
say?
Malik, and I have over 2.5 years of experience in high performance sales environments.
2.5 years in high performance sales environments. I've generated over $800,000 in XYZ, and I've also won XYZ awards. Then you could say everything else. You know what I mean? Because that's just that's like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, that's now let's hear what else he has to say. That's your hook. Does that make sense, Malik?
Yeah, it does.
Cool. Other than that, I think it's good. If I were to be super nitpicky, I would just say angle the camera so you're not looking down on it, make it more like straight on. You want your camera to look how you would show up on Zoom. That's about it. Like you want to make sure that you look the exact way you would look on Zoom, because that's what they're looking for is how would this person show up on a Zoom call? Again, super nitpicky, but you want to have it in alignment with your eye level so that way you're looking straight on. But other than that, solid video.
Thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions we have? What else we want to go over? Yeah, Ibrahim?
Before I ask my question, does anyone else want to go? Because I've asked a lot of questions. I'll hold up for 2 seconds.
Doesn't look like it.
Okay. What my question is around. Okay, so you've got the offer, you're in the offer, you're making money. From your experience, how long do you normally stay on an offer for until you start pivoting, or how many offers are you juggling at one time? Because this is the only thing I'm not clear on at the moment.
Yeah, I guess it's not clear because it just depends. You know what I mean? There's so many factors and there's no one right way to do it. Um, the most manageable is one great offer that you stick on for your whole career, but sometimes that's not the reality, you know? It just depends on what you're looking for. So the way I like to see it is there's kind of some people enjoy career offers, and I'll explain the distinction in a second. And some people like gig type offers. So you kind of got to find out what you enjoy and weigh the pros and cons from there. So a career type offer, in my explanation, would be team meetings, um, typical hours, right? You showing up to a daily team meeting, big team, big company. And again, you could make a lot of money with either type of these offers, more of like a not like a corporate structure, but more of a typical company structure. You're usually working 9 to 5 in terms of hours, with freedom to obviously schedule around when your calls are. uh Vacation time is kind of whenever you want as well, as long as you're hitting KPI. Business owners don't really care much outside of that, right? As long as you're hitting your numbers. So that's kind of like the career type offer. You're sticking there for a long time. Maybe you grow into becoming a sales manager there if you really want growth. If you're a setter there, maybe you grow into a closing role, or maybe you just stick there as a closer forever. It's just that's usually that kind of offer. Gig type offers are usually closing offers where you've got like a solopreneur. It's like a team of under 5 people. Maybe it's like a really high ticket niche type of offer. You might be doing two of them at once, or maybe you're just doing one. Volume is a little bit lower, but because it's like a 50K offer or a 20K offer, you don't need to sell that much to make 10, 20, 30, 40K a month. There's no team meetings because you're just looked at as an expert anyways. I'd say this is maybe a bit later in your career, where you've proven yourself, you've got a track record. And again, this doesn't mean you have to do this once you are later in your career, but I know a lot of people that enjoy this. Sometimes people like do sales, like they train people on the side while they're doing this. I know trainers that do this. They might close for one offer that's just like a solopreneur selling a 50K thing, and they take like 2 calls a day, and they just make an extra 20K a month doing it or whatever. But maybe they juggle a couple of them. So that's more of like a gig thing. Maybe you juggle 2 of them, 3 of them at once. Harder to do as a setter, because that's more like the more you put into one, the more sets you do. So like, why would you juggle more than one? Easier to do as a closer. Um, Sometimes people are always just like trading up, just looking for new offers all the time. I would always suggest everyone continue to grow their network, maybe not necessarily constantly trading up offers, but you should constantly be connecting with business owners, getting your name out there, talking to people, connecting with other reps, regardless of whether you're on a dream offer or not, just because it's a finicky industry in terms of Facebook ads could shut down their ad account, and calls dry up for like a month or two randomly. Like, these things happen not super often, but they do happen. So you always want to have a list of different offers that you could jump on if necessary. But again, Ibrahim, it just comes down to what type of lifestyle you want. Are you looking for more of that structured day, or do you want more freedom with it? So for example, I was on an offer where it was literally a coach, and he ran a YouTube ads funnel, and the ads, went through and booked directly on my calendar. I was running my own marketing agency on the side, and I would take like 2, 3 calls a day. We never met. I just filled out the tracking sheet. I probably met with him like twice in 2 years. Like, and I closed the deals. I sent him screenshots of the payments. He sent me my commissions. If we talked, it was on WhatsApp, and that was it. You know what I mean? Um, So it's just like, what are you looking for? What do you want? You know what I mean?
I mean, that's my dream. What you just said there is my dream. But I know that I need to get track record before I get to that. And also, I think that there's something within when you're learning a new skill and practicing a new skill, you need to do volume. So, but like that is the dream where I can be location free. I can be on stage doing a TV job, and then I can have that on the side. That's kind of the dream.
Yeah, and I would suggest most people that are getting into this industry the first time, like, go be a part of a structured team just so that you have, because like those teams usually have sales managers that like it's like a free mentor. You know what I mean? Instead of, maybe just buying a sales program or something, you'll get a lot of that training if there's a good sales manager that maybe knows your offer more than like I would, for example, and could actually train you up on how to sell for that specific offer. Do that for a few years or even a few months or a year or however long you feel like it before you go and do something where, because that offer, for example, there was no call reviews, there was no training. It was just like, how to sell, do your thing. And, I mean, he had no need to. I was closing 50%, 60% most of the time. So it was like, whatever, you know? So yeah, I would go be a part of a structured team first, really get a good feel of the industry, make sure it's something you want to do long term, and then learn sales process and stuff. And that way, when you go to another company, again, the most important thing with those smaller gigs though is, does this person have a consistent, reliable way to book calls, and do they get good reviews? Testimonials, case studies, reviews are everything in this industry. Even big companies, that's what I would look at, because a lot of times where you might hear people say, "Oh, I joined an offer and it blew up after a year or two," it's because marketing was great, delivery wasn't. You know what I mean? That's the main thing, is delivery, delivery, delivery. Every person I know that survived 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, 10 years, it's because they got good results. That's what it comes down to ultimately. Even if you make less money on an offer, it's always worth it in the long run to go where the person is just doing a good job for people. One, it's easier to sell, like you're conscious wise. Um, and two, there's always longevity in an offer that just works. You know what I mean? But hopefully that answers your question.
I'm pumped. So I'm just my energy on this call is so high because it's nice to be able to talk to someone like a human. I've said this on the last call, whereas a lot of these sales things, then they're not. It doesn't feel real. So I really appreciate your time, bro. Honestly, it's big. It's really big.
Yeah, no problem, man. Glad I can help. What else we got? We got 10 more minutes. Is there anything else we want to cover? Could always wrap up early if not, but yeah, let me know if we got any other questions. Anything else? Nope.
Lena, are you Lena? Are you trying to unmute?
Oh,
Yeah,
Lena, you're
Lena's
trying to
got a
figure out how to
question.
unmute
Yes,
yourself.
Jay.
If you open up School, there should be like a mic button that there should be a mic button that lets you unmute. But while you're figuring out that, looks like we had a question in the chat. How to do personalized outreach for a DM setter position? Are you talking about landing a role, or are you talking about doing the actual job? Landing a role. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the same pretty much for everything. You're going to have your personalized message, which I'll talk about the formula in a second. But then you also want to make sure you're doing follow up when you're reaching out to these business owners, because you have to remember, if you're applying for a sales role, the first thing on the list to sell is your own skill set. Right. And if you're not doing follow up with the offers you really want to land, I'm not saying every offer, right? Some offers you just kind of throw a resume out there because I know why not. But if it's an offer you really want to land, do the follow up, message them on different platforms, email, then message them on Instagram, message them on LinkedIn. Do what because you want to showcase, hey, this is what I would do if you gave me a lead, right? Business owners pay a lot of money per leads. I think I went over this last call where to book a call in your calendar, usually it's like $200 or $200 to $600 cost per call, typically, from all the funnels I've seen. As an appointment setter, it can be $20 to $30 per lead, sometimes cheaper, but usually at scale, it gets more expensive. So business owners want to know, um, yeah, I can review that, Lena, if you want to drop a link. Um, Business owners want to know that when they give you a lead, you're going to work the lead and make sure that it either converts or doesn't, right? So you can showcase that skill and that persistence by the way you persist to book an appointment, which is booking the interview, right? So that's the first thing to keep in mind. So when it comes to the actual formula, where a lot of sales reps go wrong is they send a message just saying like, "Hey, I'm a sales rep, interview me or hire me," or "Hey, I'm skilled," or "Hey, I joined this program and I've got training and blah 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 blah." Right? Um, Sometimes they personalize it a little bit and say, "Hey, I saw you're hiring. I saw your job post. I think I'd be a good fit for the role. Let's interview." It's okay, but you're not standing out at all when you do that. The best way to stand out is list reasons why you'd actually be a good fit for that role for the business owner. Because when you say, even if you send your resume, "Hey, I'm a sales rep. Here's my resume. Here's my intro video. Here's my this." What you're trying to get the business owner to do is look at your resume, look at your intro video. Even worse if you don't send one, but you're trying to get them to look at your assets and then spend the time to diagnose and be like, okay, based off of their video, based off their resume, what aspects of this are relevant to my business and should I give them a shot? That's a lot of work. Imagine if you got like 50 of those a week or 100 of those messages a week. The business owner is probably already busy with a bunch of other things. You think they have time to really do all that diagnosing? So what they end up doing a lot of times is just ignoring it. So what you could do is do the work for them instead of just saying, "Here's my intro video," or, "Hey, I saw you're hiring, hit me up." You can send them a message, say, you want to follow their instructions. "Hey, I saw your job opportunity for XYZ. I went ahead and applied," because if you don't apply, they're just going to say, "Oh, did you apply? Go apply." Let them know, "Hey, I did apply. This is why I believe I'm a good fit. Bullet point, bullet point, bullet point." It could be one, it could be three, it could be two, whatever, but give them a few reasons so that you did that work for them. And then you can say, "Here's a little bit more about me." And that's where you can drop your Rep Select profile, or you could just drop your resume or whatever asset you have, intro video, whatever. That's why I made the Rep Select profile, because it's all of that in one. Um, but then you just drop that asset. And what this does is it just comes down to, hey, do I believe this guy's bullet points or not? I guarantee you will get a lot more interviews, because if your bullet points are good and believable, they'll say, "Yeah, that makes sense. Let me interview." Right? For example, I've had people that were former real estate agents applying for a real estate coaching offer. And they said, "Hey, I saw you're hiring a closer for your real estate program. Um, I went ahead and sent in my application. I think I'd be a great fit because I was, a real estate agent. I've sold over, XYZ houses, and I also own, you know, 10 rental properties. I've also been trained in specifically remote sales, and I'm super confident that I'd be able to close a ton of deals because I can identify with your market. Here's a little bit more about me, intro video or resume or Repslick profile." The business owner's going to look at that and be like, "Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I think they would do good. I mean, they are a real estate agent and they know sales. So yeah, let me give them an interview." And they're going to respond and say, "Hey, let's schedule an interview." You know what I mean? So that's how you would do proper personalized outreach to land an interview. And I would suggest everyone here doing, again, put it in your own words, but everyone here to do something like that, even when they apply on Rep Select. If you see the contact link that goes to their LinkedIn, click that and just send them a message, or look them up on LinkedIn, look them up on Facebook, look them on Instagram, and or look up their email, whatever, contact them on whatever channel they're active, and send a personalized message on top of the application. Every single, and I can't stress enough, every single person that I've told to do this and did it landed tons of interviews and landed offers very quickly, very, very quickly. So even Ibrahim saying it works. So I promise you that, because nobody does it. That's why it works. It's because nobody's willing to do it. And you instantly stand out. When you just apply, you get on a list of like 100 people and you're just you're relying on being picked. When you just shoot a DM saying, hey, hire me, I'm a setter. Again, there's so many other people that do that. I to this day receive like every week a couple people saying, "Hey, can I set for you?" Even though I don't even have setters on my team. It's like people don't do their due diligence at all. Like we don't take sales calls. We're a software platform, right? Um, but I still every single week get tons of DMs, people saying, "Are you hiring? Are you hiring? Are you hiring? Are you hiring?" Not a single one has ever given me a reason why they'd be a good fit to work with me. Not a single one. So you instantly stand out when you do this. So do it. Awesome. Let's look at Leanna's video and see what we can see. You said 44 to 51. Does that mean that's when it starts? And did you pull up the school group? If you pull it up, you should see the mic button at the bottom. Didn't see it? Like if you pull up where we're at, it'll like mic, camera, leave, call, should all be at the very bottom. Didn't see it there? Don't see the mic button? All right. Well, we will take a look at this anyways. Let me go to 44. Share screen. Oh, you said you can't turn it on. That's weird. Maybe you're like, do you have a mic plugged into your computer? Might be like you don't have a mic or something. You don't have a mic set up? Maybe that's why you need a mic plugged into your computer. That might be why. But yeah, let's pull this up. There we go. Oops. Somewhere around here.
You want more control over your time. So I mean, and the investment for that program, it's just $3K over a 12-week time frame, which most girls make back within the first month of being on an offer. So you're right there. So what do you say? Does that sound like it would be a good fit for you?
I'm just curious, like, would I be able to upgrade later on?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. So my last question will then be like how do I know that I will succeed in this?
Well,
Okay.
I mean, here's what I would say. At the end of the day, it's sure when you go on any of the website, there are good reviews, there are bad reviews, right? And everybody's saying I was successful in this. Everybody's saying, oh, it didn't really work. So I guess my question is, what do you really think the difference is between those people? What do you think it is?
Maybe just like bad luck.
Could be, but let's be realistic here. Like you're in sales. I'm sure there's people in your company that do very well, like you. And there's people that don't do as well. What would you say the difference is between you and those others?
I would just say that they don't put the time into it.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with everything. I mean, with all the support that we're offering you, that placement piece, that having that support, having Ava in your corner, working with other women, having the whole curriculum at your feet. If you were to put that work in, where do you think you would see yourself?
I think I definitely could succeed. I'm just really curious to see like, I don't know, some testimonials maybe.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yes. That's not a problem at all. That's not a problem at all. So here's the thing. I mean, I guess I have this question, and please bear with me here. If I were to send you testimonials, do you think it'd be bad testimonials?
You asked if it would be bad testimonials?
Yeah, if I were to send you a couple right now to your email, what do you think it would be? Do you think it'd be good or bad?
I'm assuming you'd send me the good ones, so probably good.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want you to make a biased decision. That's not truthful to you. I never want that to be the case. So at the end of the day, again, same thing like your company. If you put the work in, you had us in your corner for the next 6 months. And I don't mean to repeat, but like, where do you really think you would see yourself 6 months from
I think I would see myself succeeding.
now? Why is that?
I would say I just like what we've talked about. It seems like you guys cover everything that I would need to succeed. Especially with the placement. Um, yeah, no, I definitely think I would succeed. I guess I just like, just gonna have some fear around it sometimes, I guess.
Well, I hear you there. That's understandable. So when you say that fear, is it fear coming from within, or is it more on us? Where is that really coming from?
Um, I guess from within. Like obviously I know that I have the work ethic, but also I guess in person I have people pushing me, but like if I am in a bad mood or if I'm like, ugh, like door slammed in my face, like I'm feeling bad, I want to give up. Usually there's someone to be like, no, like let's go, let's do this, you know. So I'm just worried about like if I feel that way here with something that I will be forced to fix it alone, I guess.
Yes, no, that makes sense. I completely hear you there. Well, here's the thing. You're always going to have access to Ava, right? I understand right now you can go to your manager who's next to you, but with the support that we offer, I mean, you can just text Ava, literally one text away when that shows up for you. So, I mean, you have a whole bunch of women backing you as well, right? From what you told me, you have a very supportive fiance as well, right? So with all that support that you have, when that fear shows up for you, how would you handle it?
Probably I'll probably tell him, and he'd probably tell me to um I guess to keep on trying to look on the bright side, that kind of thing.
And when that shows up for you right now, is that what he tells you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you have a very, very supportive relationship since so healthy. It's like a breath of fresh air, honestly. Um, and Karina, listen, can I be honest with you just for a minute?
Yeah, totally.
Like, I get it. Change can be very scary, especially seeing as what you've already told me, right? But honestly, let's think about this for a second. Like, what's scarier, right? I think what's scarier is staying where you're at right now. Like, I only really see two options for you at this point. Stay where you're at, or you're currently unhappy with not having that time, not having that location freedom. Feeling like you have to sacrifice something to even have more of that. And you can stay where you're at, not have more time with your your fiance. And then you can look back in, like 5 to 10 years from now and wish you had made a change, right? Or you can make this change for yourself and start getting those 10K months. Start getting more of that time back with your fiance. Start really repairing your relationship. And finally start living the life that, you've been wanting.
So yeah, you made a good point in the chat, letting her answer which is scarier. So far, not a bad way at all to handle the objection. The way I like to do it, especially handling fear, is primarily I don't really want them to think too much about like, oh, this is scarier than that. I want them I want to help them normalize the fear, right? Because at the end of the day, why would anyone be afraid of taking a big step like this? Could anyone answer? Why would there be fear right now? One person says change. What else? Let's use some mics. Let's use some mics.
Yeah,
Fear of the
commitment. Just
unknown.
committing to something.
Fear of the unknown, fear of commitment. Anything else? Failed in the past. Yes. Also, I would say people usually have these feelings when they're doing something that they just care about. They just want to get a good result. It's just like an athlete who has a little bit of nerves before they play a big playoff game or something. There's always going to be some kind of feeling like that when you're doing something that you care about, whether it's writing a big test, exams, always. Now, just because you have that feeling, does that mean you're doing something wrong? Of course not. Like, just because you're nervous about your exam doesn't mean you shouldn't write it. You know what I mean? Um, so what I want to do is help them understand that just because because like what she's saying right now is I'm not moving forward because I have a little bit of fear. And what that usually stems from is an assumption that making a big purchase that will result in life-changing results should be comfortable in a fearless action, which is just not true. You know what I mean? Like, why would that be if we have nerves for things like big sports events, tests, interviews for jobs you really want, why would something where you make a big investment bet on yourself to absolutely, which most of these programs do, absolutely transform your life, why should that be like this 100% sure, unfearful thing? And what a lot of closers do in the moment when they bring up fear is they like try to solve it. They try to like get the person to like get rid of the fear and then say yes. Oh, because of this conversation, I am no longer afraid, therefore I'm going to move forward. And when that happens is you run into a wall because it's like they care about it. So there's always going to be some kind of fear. And what usually happens is you give them like a little burst of confidence where the fear like disappears for a second and then they buy and then they get off the call and they're like, actually, I gotta, the fear came back, which means that burst of confidence you gave me wasn't real. So the fear came back. Therefore, I got to cancel. I want a refund. I got to back out. But when you make them realize that the fear is normal, when they get off the call and the fear comes back, they're like, oh, yeah, this is normal. I'm supposed to feel this way. That's okay. It's okay. I'm still going to show up to the onboarding call and get this thing done because I'm supposed to feel this way. But when you don't let them know that they're supposed to feel this way, you might help them overcome it in the moment, but it's just going to come back. There's nothing you're going to say that's going to delete the fear for a week. And if you want the payment to stick, it's like it's got to stick for like a couple months. Like, you know what I mean? They got to get into it. You know what I mean? So the way I like to do it is when they're like, yeah, I'm just fearful. And I'd be like, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I get it. I mean, at the end of the day, can we agree that when you do this, having XYZ result would be massive change for you and totally change your life and be amazing, wouldn't it? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you feel a little nerves or fear around that? It's a big deal. But at the end of the day, it's the nerves are not a reason to not do it. It just means it's something you care about. Like, can we agree? You care about getting good results with this, right? Yeah, I do care. Well, yeah. I mean, then of course. I mean, I would be wondering why you don't feel a little nerves. I would wonder if this is something you really want to do. And they're like, oh yeah, I guess you know what I mean? And like they realize that the fear is normal. And then I'll ask them, I'll be like, but is the fear, is the nerves, is that a big enough reason? And again, this depends on what they care more about. Do they care more about escape? Because everyone has two forces pushing them towards a goal. You either are running away from pain or you're running towards a desire. So it's like I'm so hungry I'd eat anything, or I mean, some ice cream would be really good. So I'm going to go, that's my desire is some ice cream. Right. So depending on what it is for them is what I'd use here. So let's say she was running away from pain. And I think you said, spending more time with your fiance, right? Let's say she's running away from the pain of, not being able to spend time with her family. I might say, but is the fear a big enough obstacle to continue not spending enough time with your family? Or I would say, if I was a goal, I would say, is the fear a big enough obstacle to never have XYZ, to never achieve XYZ goals? Usually they're like, no, it's not, right? And then you go from there and I say, yeah, because at the end of the day, um, you know, you want to show them that like this is the logical decision. Like the not doing this because of fear is the emotional decision. The logical decision is we just spent an hour diagnosing everything and coming up with a perfect plan for you, and it all makes sense on paper. You know what I mean? So that's how I'd handle fear, you know, and help them overcome it. And then I would couple it with kind of because like what you say her fear was around. Her fear was, oh, I might not have support. And I'll say, and listen, I mean, at the end of the day, we already went through, we know that this is why this is a good fit for you, XYZ. And listen, you've got coach XYZ with you, and she's going to be there with you every step of the way. And it's all in your energy and how you portray this, the confidence that you have. Like, you need to have a very calming, I guess, like oak tree energy when you're handling objections. You never want to talk fast. You never want to be like quick to respond. You want to be slow, but insanely confident. Because what that does is sales is a transfer of belief. Because they're going to be like, why is Lena so confident? Why is Lena so calm? I'm freaking out here. Why is she so calm? She must know something that I don't know, because she's super confident in me doing this. And again, that you're confident in me doing this doesn't count. If we rewind all the way to the beginning of this training call, it doesn't count if you were like that from the beginning of the call, because you didn't actually take the time to understand them yet. So if you were like confident that they should do this from the beginning, they're like, oh, this is fake. You're just trying to sell me. But if you're like super curious and like, why do you want to do this? Why is this so important to you? Tell me more about that. I'm super curious. And then once you actually understand them, now you're like, oh yeah, you should definitely do this. We're going to be with you every step of the way. I'm confident. I am confident that you're going to crush with this if you're just willing to put in the work. If you make that switch when you're pitching, like you go from discovery to, okay, now you have sold me that you should do this. You've sold me. I'm asking you questions. I'm trying to understand you. I sound even skeptical when I'm asking you these questions. Like, why is this so important to you? I'm almost pushing you away. And you feel like you're like justifying to me why this is important to you, why you need to do this the whole call. And then I just make a switch and I go, oh, now I believe you. Now the confidence is believable because you did it after you learned about them, after you discovered, after you got to know them, after you probed deep and really got to understand their thought process, after you understand their situation, after you understand their goals, their dreams, their hopes, the pain they've been through, the struggle. Now it's believable. So it's like everything has to tie together. And now you can confidently end this call be like, Lena, I think you would do a great job. And as long as you're willing to put in the work, we're going to be there with you every step of the way. But you have to be willing to show up as well. We can't want it more than you do. So are you ready to show up so we can actually get you to a place where you're spending more time with your fiance, where you're earning the 10K that you want to be earning? Are you ready? And again, don't make it sound like a fairy tale. Let her know it's going to be work. It's not going to be easy. This is not get rich quick. This is not like, it's going to take work. I had someone DM me the other day and they're like, hey, if I join Rep Select, how easy would it be to get XYZ? I'm like, nothing worth doing is easy. And so it's never going to be easy. Again, you're just breaking trust if you try to make it a fairy tale. Marketer's job is to make it a fairy tale, you know? So that's where, and again, this is like when there's so much trust when you do it this way, because they understand they're supposed to be afraid. When you try to make them feel like, why are you afraid? What are you doing? Like a lot of people train you to do, don't be afraid. We've got all this support and all this thing and all these testimonials. Why are you afraid? They can't just help the feeling because they care about it. You can't get them to just not care about it by, you just spend an hour getting them to care about it, you know? And now you're trying to get them to not care anymore and just like dive into a decision with zero fear. It's like, it's not about that. It's about a few moments of confidence to make the decision and to do the work, because is this something you care about? You know what I mean? So that's what I would change here is kind of just the approach. Like I like again, it's not necessarily about the things you said per se or anything. I would just slightly adjust how you went about doing the same thing. So you are kind of being like, because you said here, you could stay where you're at, not having these, but I would kind of shift how I would talk about it from like, what's the bigger fear to is the fear and uncertainty a big enough obstacle to stop you from all of these great things? Are you going to allow that? And it's the same thing when I talk to people when they're like pricing objection. When I probe into it and it's like, okay, so you have the money, but there's just fear around making the investment. Is that fear a big enough obstacle to keep you from all these great things? It's like, and if they say, yes, it is a big enough obstacle, then it's like, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you. It's like, how do you expect me to help you if, and then you go from there. Again, it's also just a indifference. I'm not trying to force you to sell. I'm trying to help you make the best decision possible. I've had people where, I pitched it and they're just like, oh, well, is the investment. I've asked them, hey, if you could press a button and have the result, would a 3K investment be worth it? It was like some relationship offer. And some people said no. And I said, okay, well, I guess we have nothing left to talk about. Because if it's just not, if the result is just not a big enough result to warrant the investment, then it's just not like, like, what am I going to say? You know what I mean? Your confidence will handle a lot of objections for you, but it's also how you get to that confidence that matters. You can't just come on off the bat. There's different types of confidence in sales. There's confidence in the product or service you're selling, which is something you have always. But then there's confidence in the person that you're speaking to utilizing the service, which is something that should only come after a thorough discovery. Do you guys understand what I mean by that? Any questions on that? Any confusion? No, straightforward. So those are the two types of confidence, right? One is you hold it back and you're almost like, I need to sell myself. And all of your questions, your tonality, your energy is all from the standpoint of, I'm trying to sell myself on why you should do this. And then you make that switch. And then you pour on the confidence, the calmness, the support, the love, everything, the conviction. But then it's believable conviction. Does that make sense, Lena? Awesome. Any final questions before we hop off? Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the call. Awesome. I will be posting the recording in the community right when we hop off. Go ahead and comment on it if you got some value from this call. Let's get more people on here asking more questions. That way we can make these calls better. And I will see you guys either on Wednesday if you're in Closer College. If not, I'll see you guys on Monday. Have a good rest of your day, guys.
Cheers. Thank you.